The ancient wisdom of the stars has always guided humanity through the darkest nights and brightest days. Among the 12 celestial archetypes that shape our universe, one stands at the forefront, bold, unapologetic, and blazing with primordial fire. Aries, the cosmic firstborn, carries the weight and privilege of leading the zodiac wheel, embodying the raw, untamed energy of spring's first breath. Picture this. A room suddenly shifts when an Aries walks in. The air crackles with electricity, conversations pivot, and everyone instinctively recognizes the arrival of a force of nature. This magnetic presence is the gift of Mars, the warrior planet, bestowing upon its children an undeniable charisma that draws others into their orbit. Yet paradoxically, this same gravitational pull that attracts so many initially can eventually push them away. Today, we're venturing into territory that requires courage, perhaps the very courage that Aries possesses in abundance. We're exploring the shadow side of the ram's powerful personality, examining why those fiery qualities that make Aries so captivating can sometimes leave them standing alone at the summit they've so determinedly climbed. The journey of self-awareness is never easy, especially for a sign that prefers charging forward to looking inward. But the stars offer their wisdom not to condemn, but to illuminate. In understanding our cosmic blueprint, we gain the power to alchemize our challenges into strengths, to refine rather than repress the essential qualities that make us who we are. For every Aries watching, this exploration requires something that doesn't always come naturally to you: stillness, the willingness to pause your perpetual motion, to listen without immediately formulating a response, to absorb rather than act. Consider this an invitation to a different kind of adventure, one that happens within the landscape of your own psyche. What makes this exploration particularly fascinating is that many of the qualities that push others away are the very same qualities that, in different contexts or degrees, make Aries natural leaders and pioneers. The line between strength and weakness is not just thin, it's often non-existent. The same trait exists on a spectrum, where its expression determines whether it builds or breaks connections. Throughout human history, Aries individuals have led revolutions, founded empires, created artistic masterpieces, and transformed industries. Their impatience with the status quo drives human progress. Their competitive spirit raises the bar for achievement. Their directness cuts through deception and pretense. Yet these same qualities, untempered by awareness, can leave a wake of strained relationships and missed connections. The cosmos designed Aries not as a finished product, but as a powerful beginning, the spark that ignites the flame. And perhaps the greatest journey for any Aries is learning how to sustain that flame without consuming everything around it, how to lead without dominating, how to be honest without wounding, how to compete without creating only rivals instead of allies. If you find yourself nodding in recognition, whether you're an Aries yourself or someone who loves and sometimes struggles with an Aries in your life, you're in the right place. The community we're building at Secret of the Zodiac is founded on the principle that awareness precedes transformation. By understanding the cosmic patterns that influence our behavior, we gain the freedom to work with these energies rather than being unconsciously driven by them. Before we dive deeper into the specific reasons why people might keep their distance from Aries, take a moment to join our cosmic community. Hit that subscribe button to ensure you never miss our celestial insights, and show your support with a like on this video. Your engagement fuels our mission to bring ancient wisdom into modern life. Now let's examine the first cluster of challenging Aries traits, the ones that transform relationships into battlegrounds. These are the qualities that might have others approaching you with caution, engaging from a safe distance, or perhaps slipping away entirely from your fiery orbit. The first reason people maintain their distance from you, Aries, lies in your volcanic temperament. When crossed or contradicted, your anger doesn't simmer. It erupts with the force of Vesuvius, transforming minor disagreements into scorched earth. Where others might feel a flicker of annoyance, you experience a wildfire of rage that consumes everything in its path. Think of the last time someone challenged you at work or questioned your decision at a family gathering. Did the room suddenly grow tense? Did conversations halt mid-sentence? That palpable shift in atmosphere wasn't coincidence. It was the collective breath-holding of everyone who's witnessed your previous eruptions and fears becoming collateral damage in the next one. The second reason circles around your relationship with conversation itself. For you, Aries, waiting your turn to speak feels like an unbearable constraint, doesn't it? Your mind races ahead, bursting with thoughts that demand immediate expression. You interrupt not from malice, but from an overwhelming urgency, a compulsion to share your insight before the moment passes. Yet with each interruption, you unwittingly send a powerful message to others. My thoughts matter more than yours. Your friends and colleagues have likely developed telling habits in response, trailing off mid-sentence when you draw breath, or saving their most important thoughts for when you're absent. They've learned that conversation with you resembles not a dance, but a race where only the swiftest voice gets heard. The third reason cuts to the core of how you navigate truth in relationships. Your honesty, that unfiltered, unvarnished truth-telling, comes from a place of integrity. You despise deception and view your directness as a gift, believing everyone prefers painful truth to comfortable lies. But honesty without compassion is like medicine without a coating, too bitter for most to swallow. Remember the colleague whose presentation you critiqued publicly? Or the friend whose new haircut you immediately declared unflattering? You've forgotten these moments because to you, they were merely factual observations, but they've been carefully filed away in the memories of those you've wounded, creating an invisible barrier between you and deeper connection. These traits, your explosive anger, your conversational dominance, your brutal honesty, form a triumvirate of interpersonal challenges that make sustained proximity to you emotionally costly for many. Yet hidden within each difficulty lies a remarkable strength twisted slightly off its axis. Your capacity for anger reveals your passion and your unwillingness to tolerate injustice. Your urgency to speak demonstrates intellectual engagement and enthusiasm. Your honesty reflects a core commitment to truth and authenticity. The stars didn't design these traits to isolate you, Aries, but to fuel your pioneering spirit. The same fire that sometimes burns bridges is meant to light paths through uncharted territory. What if your explosive energy could be channeled not into anger but into advocacy for causes that matter? What if your eagerness to speak became balanced with an equal curiosity about others' thoughts? What if your honesty remained intact but wrapped in the warmth of compassion? As we prepare to explore the next set of challenges in your cosmic makeup, consider this. Transformation doesn't require diminishing your fire, only directing its heat and light with greater intention. The very qualities that sometimes push others away can become your most magnetic attributes when refined rather than repressed. The fourth reason people maintain a cautious distance from you, Aries, reveals itself in your relationship with commitment. Like a child in a candy store, your eyes constantly dart to the next shiny object, leaving half-eaten experiences in your wake. You abandon plans midway not from malice, but from an insatiable hunger for novelty that overrides your sense of obligation. Remember that road trip you organized with painstaking detail, only to suggest scrapping it entirely when you heard about a spontaneous concert? Or the book club you founded with enthusiasm, attending religiously until rock climbing captured your imagination? Your friends have learned that your commitment comes with an invisible asterisk, valid until something more exciting appears. This pattern creates a peculiar paradox. Others admire your zest for life, while simultaneously hesitating to invest emotionally in shared futures with you. They've been left holding tickets to canceled shows, reservations at tables for one, and group projects, suddenly missing their most vocal champion too many times to count. The fifth reason stems from your innate competitiveness that transforms casual interactions into Olympic events. For you, Aries, life itself is a tournament where second place might as well be last. This competitive fire served our ancestors well when survival demanded physical dominance, but in the modern social landscape, it creates unexpected casualties. That friendly board game night that ended with you flipping the Monopoly board, the The casual basketball game where you argued with the referee until everyone else simply walked away. The karaoke evening that somehow became an audition for The Voice. Others watch you approach even the most innocuous activities with the intensity of a gladiator entering the Colosseum, and decide, understandably, that relaxation in your presence is impossible. They've learned that around you, there are no casual pastimes, only battles to be won or lost. What they crave occasionally is companionship without scorekeeping, moments unmarred by the pressure to perform, experiences valued for their inherent joy rather than their potential for victory. The sixth reason reveals the double-edged sword of your decisiveness. Your act first, apologize later approach cuts through indecision like a hot knife through butter. When others are still weighing options, you've already chosen a path and begun clearing it. This decisive nature makes you an invaluable leader in crises, but a challenging companion in collaborative ventures. Think about the group vacation where you booked accommodations without consulting anyone about their budget constraints, or the dinner party where you ordered for the entire table, including for the friend with unlisted dietary restrictions, or the office project where you implemented your solution before the brainstorming session had concluded. Each action stemmed from your genuine desire to move things forward, yet each left others feeling like passengers in their own lives, consulted after decisions affecting them had already been made. The resentment this creates doesn't manifest as immediate confrontation. Few have the appetite for direct conflict with a Mars-ruled individual, but rather as a gradual, quiet withdrawal from your sphere of influence. These three qualities, your fleeting commitment, your hyper-competitiveness, and your unilateral decision-making, share a common thread. They all stem from your elemental nature as a cardinal fire sign. The cosmos designed you to initiate, to spark, to catalyze. Your astrological purpose has never been sustainability but ignition. You're the match, not the hearth. The starter pistol, not the marathon. This cosmic blueprint explains your behavior but doesn't negate its impact on others. What makes these traits particularly fascinating is how they simultaneously attract and repel. Initially, others are drawn to your dynamism, your willingness to try anything once, your refreshing ability to make decisions without agonizing over options. They admire these qualities from afar and seek to absorb some of your courage through proximity. Yet sustained exposure reveals the exhausting underbelly of these same traits, the unpredictability, the intensity, the steamrolling of others' autonomy. Consider the possibility that these characteristics aren't flaws to be eliminated, but powerful tools requiring more precise calibration. What if your enthusiasm for novelty remained intact, but was balanced with selective follow-through on your most important commitments? What if your competitive spirit targeted primarily your previous achievements rather than the people sharing your space? What if your decisiveness became partnered with genuine curiosity about others' perspectives before action? The cosmic joke here is that the very qualities driving others away are the ones that make you an essential force in their lives. Your restlessness challenges their complacency. Your competitiveness inspires their excellence. Your decisiveness breaks their paralysis. The world needs your fire. It just needs you to become a skilled fire tender rather than an accidental arsonist. As you contemplate these dynamics, remember that awareness itself begins the alchemical process of transformation. The stars don't demand personality amputation, but rather conscious evolution. You needn't become less Aries, just more intentionally Aries. Your pioneering spirit, when directed with awareness, doesn't have to leave a trail of alienated companions. It can instead inspire a loyal expedition team, eager to explore new territories alongside you. The most profound relationships in your life will likely come from those resilient enough to weather your intensity and honest enough to reflect it back to you. Those rare individuals who neither fear your fire nor try to extinguish it, but instead help you channel it into sustained light rather than sporadic conflagrations. These people exist, though they may be rarer than you'd like. The question becomes, are you willing to create the conditions that allow them to remain in your orbit rather than being flung away by centrifugal force? As we prepare to explore the next trio of challenges in your astrological makeup, consider that the journey toward connection doesn't require betraying your essential nature, but rather expressing its highest potential. The seventh reason people maintain a careful distance from you, Aries, manifests in your relationship with time itself. Patience for you isn't merely a virtue, it's an almost impossible aspiration. You exist in a perpetual state of now, with an internal clock that runs consistently faster than everyone else's. This temporal disconnect creates ripples of anxiety that spread to everyone in your vicinity. Notice how people hurry their sentences when speaking to you, watching your foot tap or fingers drum as physical manifestations of your waning attention. Observe how friends have learned to arrive at restaurants 15 minutes early when meeting you, knowing your definition of on time means already seated and halfway through appetizers. Your urgency transmits itself telepathically. Colleagues rush presentations, servers expedite orders, loved ones compress their stories to bullet points, all attempting to match your accelerated rhythm. This constant pressure cooker environment exhausts those with more contemplative temperaments. They find themselves perpetually breathless in your presence, feeling judged for their natural pace, experiencing what should be pleasant interactions as endurance tests. Your impatience doesn't just rush conversations, it rushes connections, pushing relationships to develop depth before they've established proper foundations, demanding emotional harvests from seeds barely planted. The eighth reason emerges from your approach to conversational dynamics. For you, dialogue isn't an equal exchange, but a platform for your brilliant performances. You dominate discussions not from conscious selfishness, but from genuine enthusiasm, coupled with complete confidence in the value of your contribution. Remember the dinner party, where you regaled guests with your adventurous exploits, not noticing how one friend attempted 3 times to share her recent promotion. Or the team meeting, where your continuous stream of ideas prevented quieter colleagues from offering solutions that might have saved months of work. Your monologues might be entertaining, insightful, even inspiring, yet they create a fundamental imbalance in social ecology. Others find themselves perpetually cast as audience rather than co-creators of conversation. Over time, this passive role becomes suffocating for those who also have thoughts worth expressing, leading them to seek interactions where their voices won't be drowned by your verbal waterfall. What begins as admiration for your expressive abilities gradually transforms into exhaustion and eventually avoidance. The tragic irony? Your magnetic storytelling draws people toward you initially, only for your conversational monopoly to ultimately push them away. A social boom and bust cycle that leaves you wondering why connections that begin so promisingly often fizzle without explanation. The ninth reason reveals perhaps your most challenging interpersonal trait, your relationship with correctness. Being right isn't just important to you, it's essential to your self-concept. You approach disagreements not as opportunities for mutual exploration, but as battles to be decisively won. This stance transforms what could be enriching exchanges of perspective into exhausting intellectual, gladiatorial combats, where only one participant emerges unscathed. Think about the philosophical debate that ended with your friend's quiet withdrawal after you dismantled their position point by point, or the holiday dinner where family members exchanged glances as you vehemently corrected historical inaccuracies in an anecdote that was merely meant to entertain, or the relationship discussion where proving your technical correctness overshadowed addressing the emotional needs underlying the conversation. Your need for intellectual victory comes at the cost of emotional connection, a Pyrrhic triumph that leaves you technically right but increasingly alone. Others learn that engaging with your ideas means preparing for combat rather than conversation, requiring emotional armor and argumentative ammunition simply to share a different perspective. Is it any wonder they eventually reserve their most vulnerable thoughts and creative ideas for safer harbors? These 3 qualities, your relentless impatience, your conversational dominance, and your need to be right, form a triangular prison around authentic connection. Each trait represents a barrier to the vulnerability, reciprocity, and intellectual humility that meaningful relationships require. Yet examining these traits through a cosmic lens reveals their evolutionary purpose. Your impatience exists to propel humanity forward, past complacency. Your verbal dominance emerged from the need to rally groups toward action. Your certainty developed to cut through confusion when decisive leadership was required for survival. The astrological paradox you embody is that the very qualities making you an indispensable force in human progress can simultaneously make you a challenging presence in human connection. You're designed for breakthrough moments rather than sustained comfort, for crisis leadership rather than peaceful coexistence, for revolutionary action rather than evolutionary patience. The stars crafted you as humanity's necessary disruptor, the cosmic alarm clock preventing stagnation. This cosmic purpose explains your behavior, but doesn't exempt you from its relational consequences. The question becomes not whether to change these essential qualities, for they are the source of your unique power, but how to modulate them in contexts where connection matters more than conquest. What if your impatience became selective, activated for genuine emergencies but tempered during moments of potential intimacy? What if your verbal brilliance became balanced with strategic silence, creating space for others' voices to emerge? What if your need for correctness became secondary to your desire for understanding, allowing you to sometimes prioritize connection over conclusion? The most profound growth available to you involves recognizing that different contexts call for different expressions of your fiery nature. Leading a team through crisis requires different qualities than nurturing a romantic partnership. Debating intellectual concepts demands different skills than supporting a friend through grief. True strength lies not in maintaining consistent intensity regardless of context, but in adapting your fire's expression to serve the highest purpose in each unique situation. Those who remain in your life despite these challenges are treasures beyond measure. They've discovered the golden core beneath your challenging exterior, your unfailing courage, your refreshing authenticity, your passionate loyalty once earned. They've learned that your fire, though sometimes overwhelming, also provides unparalleled warmth and light. These resilient souls have developed heat resistance through repeated exposure, learning to appreciate the intensity that others find intolerable. As we prepare to explore the final trio of reasons people might maintain distance from you, consider this invitation. What if you could maintain your essential Aries nature while creating more hospitable conditions for meaningful connection? This isn't about diminishing your fire, but directing it with greater precision, like a master glassblower who uses controlled heat to create delicate beauty rather than indiscriminate destruction. The 10th reason people maintain a protective distance from you, Aries, manifests in your dismissive approach to emotional sensitivity. When confronted with others' hurt feelings, particularly those you've inadvertently caused, you often categorize their responses as excessive or unwarranted. Your being too sensitive becomes your reflexive defense, a phrase that simultaneously invalidates their emotional reality while absolving you of responsibility for your impact. This dismissal doesn't stem from cruelty, but from your fundamentally different relationship with emotional processing. Your feelings arrive like summer thunderstorms, intense, explosive, but quickly cleared, leaving you genuinely bewildered by those who experience emotions as slow-moving weather systems that linger for days or weeks. Remember when your brutally honest feedback reduced a colleague to tears, and your confused response was, "But I was just trying to help." Or when your partner's hurt feelings about a forgotten anniversary seemed wildly disproportionate to what you considered a minor oversight. These moments reveal a critical emotional blind spot, the assumption that your emotional processing style represents an objective standard against which others' responses should be measured. This emotional tone deafness creates a painful dynamic where those with different sensitivity thresholds feel not only wounded by your original actions, but doubly injured by your dismissal of their feelings as somehow defective or exaggerated. Over time, emotionally sensitive individuals learn to process their feelings elsewhere, sharing vulnerabilities with those who won't bulldoze their emotional landscapes in the name of toughening them up. The 11th reason emerges from your insatiable appetite for stimulation and activity. a hunger that exhausts those with more moderate energy levels. Your natural state is perpetual motion. Stillness feels to you not like peace, but like death. This constant acceleration creates an inadvertent form of relational Darwinism, where only the most energetically robust can maintain your pace. Think about the weekend getaways where your dawn to midnight itineraries left companions pleading for just one leisurely morning, or the evenings at home where your restless channel surfing or sudden impulses to rearrange furniture disrupted others' attempts at relaxation, or the conversations repeatedly interrupted by your need to check notifications, make calls, or address sudden inspirations. Your multitasking brain craves constant input, treating boredom as an emergency requiring immediate resolution. What you experience as normal stimulation levels registers to others as overwhelming chaos, like living beside a perpetually revving engine that never shifts into neutral. Friends and partners find themselves chronically sleep-deprived, socially overscheduled, and mentally overstimulated in your orbit, eventually retreating to relationships that don't require emotional and physical endurance training just to maintain. The cosmic irony? Your abundant energy, a genuinely magnificent resource, becomes the very thing that drives away those who might help you channel it most meaningfully, leaving you surrounded primarily by thrill seekers and adrenaline addicts who match your pace, but perhaps not your depth. The 12th reason, our final exploration, lies in your approach to conflict resolution. When faced with problems, you instinctively reach for the battering ram rather than the skeleton key. Force over finesse becomes your default strategy, addressing every challenge with the same blunt force approach, regardless of its nature. This ram-headed response creates collateral damage in situations requiring delicacy. Consider the workplace disagreement you escalated to management before attempting direct conversation, or the misunderstanding with a friend that you addressed through public confrontation rather than private clarification, or the family tension you attempted to resolve through volume and intensity rather than patience and listening. Your warrior spirit, a tremendous asset in truly combative situations, becomes a liability when applied indiscriminately to every interpersonal friction. Others learn to avoid bringing problems to your attention, fearing your solution will create greater destruction than the original issue. They withhold small concerns until they become unmanageable resentments, creating the very explosions you're often blamed for initiating. The pattern becomes self-reinforcing. Your forceful approaches confirm others' reluctance to engage with you on sensitive matters, increasing the likelihood that issues will reach critical mass before addressing them, thus seemingly justifying your extreme measures. This cycle leaves you perpetually wondering why people don't just say something sooner, while simultaneously creating conditions that make early intervention feel unsafe. These final 3 traits, your dismissal of emotional sensitivity, your relentless need for stimulation, and your forceful approach to problem solving, complete our exploration of the Zodiac's firstborn's shadow side. Each quality represents a double-edged sword. The same characteristics that make you an unstoppable force for progress can simultaneously make you an immovable object in relationships. Your dismissal of excessive emotion allows you to function effectively in crises where others might become paralyzed. Your high stimulation threshold enables sustained performance when others require recovery. Your forceful problem-solving cuts through situations where gentler approaches might prove endlessly ineffective. These qualities aren't accidental design flaws, but purposeful features in your cosmic blueprint, adaptations perfectly suited for breakthrough moments but challenging during everyday human connection. The most profound realization available to any Aries is that strength manifests in multiple forms. Sometimes strength roars, direct, unmistakable, overwhelming, but sometimes strength whispers, patient, receptive, yielding. True mastery comes not from favoring one expression over another, but developing the wisdom to discern which form serves best in each unique circumstance. The ram doesn't always need to charge. Sometimes it can simply stand its ground. The fire doesn't always need to blaze. Sometimes it can provide steady, sustainable warmth. For those brave enough to remain in close proximity to an Aries, the rewards are considerable. Behind your challenging traits exists a loyalty that borders on ferocity, a generosity that knows no calculation, an authenticity refreshingly free from manipulation, and a courage that inspires others to face their own fears. You offer something increasingly rare in our diplomatic, conflict-avoidant world: complete honesty without hidden agendas. You represent the principle of pure life force, the essential spark that catalyzes creation itself. The path forward doesn't require personality transplantation, but rather intentional evolution, developing complementary strengths that balance your natural tendencies. This might mean cultivating the patience to listen fully before responding, the empathy to validate emotions different from your own, the discernment to match your energy to the situation's requirements, and the flexibility to try subtle approaches before resorting to force. These developed qualities wouldn't diminish your Aries nature, but enhance it, like adding new dimensions to a previously flat character, creating depth where before there was only intensity. The stars crafted you as humanity's necessary catalyst, the cosmic match that ignites potential into kinetic energy. The world needs your fire, but fire serves best when skillfully tended, directed with intention, rather than allowed to consume indiscriminately. Your evolutionary journey involves becoming not less powerful, but more precisely powerful, a focused flame rather than a wildfire, illuminating paths forward without scorching those walking beside you. The journey through the shadow side of Aries reveals a powerful truth about cosmic design. The very qualities that make you an unstoppable force can simultaneously create barriers to deep connection. We've explored 12 distinct reasons why people might maintain distance from the Zodiac's fiery firstborn, from your explosive temper and conversational dominance to your dismissal of emotional sensitivity and forceful problem-solving approaches. Each trait represents not a flaw, but a feature of your astrological blueprint, attributes perfectly crafted for breakthrough moments but challenging during everyday human interactions. What emerges from this exploration isn't a condemnation of the Aries spirit, but rather an invitation to conscious evolution. The cosmos doesn't ask you to diminish your fire, but to direct it with greater precision, to transform from an accidental arsonist to a masterful fire tender. This transformation doesn't require betraying your essential nature, but rather expressing its highest potential. Consider the powerful paradox at the heart of your astrological design. You are simultaneously essential and overwhelming, inspiring and exhausting, catalyzing and destructive. The ram charges forward with magnificent courage, yet sometimes tramples delicate connections underfoot. The fire illuminates dark paths forward, yet sometimes consumes the very bridges that would allow others to follow. The most profound growth available to any Aries involves recognizing that different contexts call for different expressions of your nature. Leadership in crisis demands different qualities than nurturing intimate relationships. Competitive environments require different approaches than collaborative creative spaces. True mastery comes not from maintaining consistent intensity regardless of context, but in adapting your expression to serve the highest purpose in each unique situation. For those courageous enough to walk alongside an evolved Aries, the rewards transcend the challenges. Behind the intensity exists a loyalty that borders on ferocity, a generosity that knows no calculation, an authenticity refreshingly free from manipulation, and a courage that inspires others to face their own fears. You represent the principle of pure life force, the essential spark that catalyzes creation itself. As we conclude this exploration, we invite you to become an active participant in our cosmic community at Secret of the Zodiac. Subscribe to our channel to continue this journey of astrological self-discovery. Each sign holds both light and shadow, gifts and challenges, and our mission is to illuminate these patterns with compassion and clarity. We encourage you to share this video with the Aries individuals in your life, not as criticism, but as an offering of understanding. True growth begins with awareness, and awareness flourishes in the light of honest reflection. The conversation doesn't end with this video. We want to hear your experiences. Have you recognized these Aries traits in yourself or someone close to you? Which resonated most deeply? What strategies have you developed to channel these powerful energies constructively? Share your insights in the comments below, creating a repository of wisdom for others walking similar paths. If you found value in this exploration, please consider supporting our work through the Super Thanks feature. Your financial contribution helps offset the costs of producing daily content and allows us to delve even deeper into the cosmic mysteries that shape our lives. Each donation directly fuels our ability to create more frequent, in-depth astrological content tailored to your interests and questions. Before you leave, take a moment to browse our other videos exploring each zodiac sign's shadow aspects. Understanding the challenges faced by different astrological archetypes can foster greater compassion in your relationships and provide context for behaviors that might otherwise seem merely frustrating. The stars speak an ancient language of pattern and purpose. At Secret of the Zodiac, we're committed to translating these cosmic messages into practical wisdom for modern life. With your support, through subscriptions, comments, likes, and super thanks, we can continue this essential work of bringing celestial insight down to earth. Remember, Aries, the cosmos designed you not as a finished product, but as a powerful beginning. Your evolutionary journey involves becoming not less powerful, but more precisely powerful, a focused flame illuminating paths forward without scorching those walking beside you. This journey continues in our next exploration of the Zodiac's hidden dimensions.